What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Terrell Speaks, and we are back with another video. Let's do this. We got in the roasting table today. Well, not roasting. Wanted to talk about this because it's trending, and you know how that goes. Not only the fact that it's trending, the fact that I just wanted to talk about it because he's supposed to be a spiritual advisor, he's supposed to be a founding pastor, but he's doing weird, creepy, pedophile stuff. Yeah, I said the word. I don't have any shame. I'm not afraid. I'll say things on my show. You'll notice that other people are afraid to say on YouTube and things like that. Because when it gets to a point where I can't say what I want, I'll just do my own streaming service because I can't be censored. I don't want to be up in where I want my show to be censored. No, I'd rather just tell it like it is. I can't sugarcoat and do all this other stuff. Because he's supposed to be a founding pastor, but he's doing sick stuff. He's doing sick, creepy, pedophilic stuff, and we're going to get to it. We're going to talk about it, just like I talked about the other pastor. And again, I talk about everybody that's doing stuff. Anything that I want to do content on, that's what I talk about, from dating to relationships. In case you're new, dating, relationships. Well, I'm not an expert, but I know when people are spouting nonsense. News, current events. And other interesting topics like depression. I did 2 streams on narcissism a while back. So I do a wide variety of topics on my channel. So we're going to get into this. We're going to talk about it. And I'm going to voice my opinions. And if anybody that's been following me, I have very strong opinions and very unapologetic about them. Because I some things need to be said. And a lot of people that have certain platforms can't say it. I'm that guy that says it. I don't care what people think about me saying it. So here we go. Without further ado, let me turn this volume up because I think the volume was a little low on the last video. So we're gonna fix that right now before I even get started with this stuff. We're gonna fix it, fix all of that. So 3, 2, 1, let's go.
One of the ways Donald Trump won the 2016 election was through the complete embrace of him by evangelicals, both the base and pastors and leaders in that movement. One of the most prominent is a pastor named Robert Morris.
And we're not talking about Donald Trump in this video. They have enough videos about him. I'm not going to talk about 45. I've talked about him enough. I'm the type of person, once I let you know who a person is, I've already did podcasts on him and what I think about him. So we're going to just leave it off of him for right now. I'm just going to talk about this so-called pastor and predator behind the pulpit because that's what he is. If you're doing this kind of thing, if you're after little girls and 12-year-old girls and all that kind of stuff, yeah, something's wrong with you, buddy.
He founded a Texas megachurch in South Lake, Texas. Morris was also a spiritual advisor to Trump while he was in the White House. Here he is in the Rose Garden in 2020, just a few rows behind where then Supreme Court nominee Amy Coney Barrett's family and the First Lady are about to sit. And here is Trump visiting Morris's church earlier that summer, giving his personal assessment of the man.
I want to thank Pastors Robert Morris and Steve Dullen. They're great people.
And watch people still, and I'm not going to harp on Trump, but a lot of people are still going to bag, people bag folks that commit crimes, that mess with children, that do all kind of heinous acts to people, that have no regard for human life. People in this particular party bag folks that do this type of thing, and there's no things that you can't even justify, things that you can't justify with a cape, but they back people like that. They support this kind of stuff, and watch people still flock to the pastor, even though he's admitted that he's a pedophile.
Great people with a great reputation, I have to say that. Great reputation. And Gateway Church, the team has been incredible in hosting us. And I'd now like to ask Pastor Morris and Bishop Jackson to lead us in prayer.
Well, Robert Morris just resigned from his church. following allegations that he sexually abused a child. In a statement,
And people, like I said, people back folks like that. Folks do this kind of stuff all the time. Even Trump had accusations against him for things that he did to minors, but we're not going to talk about that. Well, not minor, may not have been minor, but sexual. He had sexual charges against him. So I don't want to mention minor stuff until I can have the factual evidence to prove that he did anything to minors. So I'm not going to mention it. He had sexual charges against him. And yeah, so he's been caught saying things that are sexually inappropriate. He's been, he's had cases against him, sexual cases. So the people bagged this man from here to Timbuktu, and the pastor, I bet people are going to still bag him. People are still going to support his church, support his ministry, even though he's been outed for sexual abuse. They're still going to support him.
to an evangelical news site, Morris said he was involved in an inappropriate sexual behavior with a young lady. Those are his words. He didn't mention that the young lady in question was a 12-year-old girl. In his statement, Trump's one-time spiritual advisor admitted
it don't matter how old he was, 21. It's still sick.
He continued to molest the child on, quote, several occasions over the next few years.
He's still a sick, evil bastard. I don't care how you slice it. It's still sick, creepy, weird, and sadistic. So whatever you say about his age, and her age, she was still underage, and he was still old enough to know that you don't do sick crap like this.
Mike Hixenbaugh is a senior investigative reporter for NBC News who's been all over this story. He writes about Pastor Morris in his book, They Came for the Schools, One Town's Fight Over Race and Identity and the New War for America's Classrooms. And he joins me now. Mike, this is something that happened a long time ago that we are learning.
Don't matter. They got Bill Cosby for stuff he did 30 years ago. They got R. Kelly for things that happened 30 years ago. If it happened a long time ago, what about all the black guys they got for stuff they did decades ago? So we gotta extend out, because if you gotta keep that same energy for everybody. If you're gonna lock them up, you gotta keep that same energy across the board. I'm not saying one is better than the other. All I'm saying is keep that same energy regardless of race, regardless of color, regardless of anything, and then you have yourself a fair justice system. If you lock everybody up for the same crimes, for the same amount of time, for the same stuff, then you have a fair system. But when you go after, when they go after black folks that have committed similar crimes, they get, you go after them for stuff they did 30 years ago. Not justifying, not saying it's right. They're still sick bastards too. I don't care what color you are, what race you are. I'm doing this disclosure. If you go after children, you're a sick bastard. I don't care what color you are. Because it was a Hispanic that was peeping Tom in a bathroom and was looking on the stalls, looking at little girls. I called him a horrible bastard. Don't care what color you are. Don't care what race you are. If you're doing this, you're sick. And you don't need to be in society if you're doing this kind of stuff. Don't care about your color. Don't care about any of that. Man, woman, none of that junk. None of that matters. If you're doing this, you're a sick bastard. It is what it is. Calling it down the middle. Because it's how it's supposed to be called. So if you're going to lock, so he needs to be held accountable for stuff he did that long ago too. It was a long time ago. He needs to be held accountable, just like we held Bill Cosby accountable, just like we held R. Kelly accountable, just like we held a few others accountable, just like we went after a lot of other people of other ethnic groups that had sexual charges. We got to do the same thing for them. Got to do it all across. Got to be fair, man.
Learning about now. Take us through how this came out.
Well, last week, the survivor in this case, Cindy Clemishire, who has tried telling the story in different ways for years, came forward in a blog post and spelled out in very clear detail.
And it's sad that someone was harmed by, I hate when it happens by people of the clergy, by people that have, that take an oath to serve other people. I hate that. I hate when people have, that take an oath to serve. You have coaches. You have all the kind of people in authority that do these things to children. And they violate these children, ruin their lives. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it with all my heart and soul, because now they're damaged. They're all messed up in the head as adults. They can't even seem to live a normal life because they've been violated by people that they gave their life to, gave their heart to. Oh, that's a father figure. That's a mentor. Nope. They're just a sick bastard.
How when she was 12 years old on
That's just disgusting.
Christmas in 1982, Pastor Morris, who was a family friend then, a young traveling evangelist, invited her into his room, where he the guest room at her house, and proceeded to molest her.
That is so disgusting. I just can't. It just makes me sick to my stomach. That's so very disgusting.
There's several instances where he would do that over the next 4.5 years. And as you mentioned in the lead-in,
and over 4 years, you know how much trauma that is for a person. You know, people that have had this happen to them over the span of 10 years, over the span of 8 years, over the span of, you know how much torture that is for a woman. And men have had to endure certain things like this too, where they've been molested by men, where they've been raped by men, where they've been by family members. I feel strongly about these things because it's sick. It ruins people's lives. Anything that ruins people's lives knows how heated I get. And that's why I harp on people with that sick, twisted dating advice, because it warps people's minds. Anything that's involved with just this misleading, this falsified, that has something to do with ruining a person's life, ruining a person's mind. Now she won't never be the same again because her mind's all screwed up.
Pastor Morris and Gateway Church responded initially by saying, this is an old sin, Pastor Morris.
What? Are you kidding me? This is old sin? Okay, tell you what. Let's say if that happens to one of your kids, God forbid, and you found out 10 years later, 20 years later, you found out it happened 20 years later, would you still say that's an old sin? And you knew the guy. Let's say it was your pastor. Not saying all pastors do it. Let's say you found out yet your pastor was doing that to your child when they were 12. Said it happened 10 years ago, 15 years ago. You wouldn't say that's an old sin. You probably show up at his door with a shotgun. So let's stop playing Let's just stop playing these games.
Morris has addressed this moral failure of this relationship with a young lady, and
we just play too many games when it comes to this. It's no sin. It's all water under the bridge. You have to turn the other cheek. No, that's not. This is not how it works. This woman was traumatized. Her life will never be the same again. And I'm sick of women getting treated this way when it comes to this. Oh, it's just no. Her life is ruined. It's ruined. And no one cares.
And he's repented, and this has been taken care of.
No, it hasn't. She still needs help. Evil pieces of garbage. She still needs psychology. She still going to need some kind of counseling. She's still going to need something. It hasn't been taken care of. Not if she's still reporting about it. Not if she's still hurt by it. Not if there's no healing. Where's the accountability? He's repentant for this. So you know he's a sick piece of garbage. You've all known this. And you still let him in the pulpit. You still let him around children. This stuff is just stupid, man. I don't understand this. Why don't we have stuff to protect women from this kind of garbage? I'm just wanting to know. It's an old sin. Oh, he's repentant. But when it comes, if he was a black man, he'd have been thrown in jail. They would have pressed charges on him. So we need to stop this. We got to stop it.
For a few days, there was a lot of pressure around this when people started pointing out, yeah, the young lady was 12. That's a child. And yesterday he resigned from the church that he founded 20 plus years ago.
Now, he had been telling a sort of story about a kind of redemption arc, about stepping away from the ministry in the 1980s because he had been confronted by the then girl's father at that time. Is that right?
He should have been confronted with a shotgun.
That's right. And I've been talking with former Gateway members and former pastors at the church. They talk about how he talked about this story all the time. And it became kind of like a signature part of his biography, that he had this moral failing when he was young. And it was around sexual immorality with, again, a young lady. And sometimes
it was around being a sick bastard. We're not going to cover it up. He put some salt and pepper and some sugar and sugar, spice, and everything nice on top of it. No, he was being a molester. He was a sexual abuser. He was a sexual predator. That's different from being sexually immoral. We can't just say it's sexually immoral. We can't say it's like fornication. Sexual immorality, biblically, fornication, homosexuality, anything that the outside of, this is biblically wise, anything outside of husband and wife sex, the Bible says is sexual immorality. So by him saying it's sexual immorality, it's really vague. But the truth was, he was molesting a girl. He was being a sick piece of garbage. And for anyone that may, that's why I said what the Bible calls sexual immorality, because I'm not judging. This is not a judgmental show or anything like that. We're not talking about it. We're not going into details in anything like that on this podcast. I'm just calling him out for being a sick bastard. This is what this is. Has nothing to do with, he said sexual immorality. So I just went into what the Bible. It's sad we have to talk like this, to explain like this, so people won't get offended and try to say things. But when you the Bible calls sexual immorality anything outside of husband, man, wife, woman, sex. That's what they call. It's what the Bible calls, because he's a pastor. It says sexual immorality. That's what they call sexual immoral, according to Christianity and Christian faith, according to Christian religion, according to biblical. So, but what he did, technically, it's sexually immoral. However, it goes a little bit deeper than that. He was a sick pedophile. Other people that do sexually immoral, fornication. People do that. People have sex. I don't judge them and look at them. Homosexuality, other things like that, bestiality. I don't look at, because bestiality is way too far. Like homosexuality, fornication, those are, I don't harp and trash that, because it's not something to be trashed. It's not something you trash, because the Bible tells you love people. But when they're violating children, when they're violating people's lives, when they're causing harm to people, that's a whole nother ball game, because now you're ruining a child's life. See the difference? So sexual immoral is different. That's why I'm telling you. That's why I'm explaining the difference, because there's a huge difference. When we're just doing the other stuff. That's just you and your life and your business between you and the Father. Not my concern. But when you're ruining the lives of children, ruining the lives of women and children, that's a problem to me. I have a problem with you.
tellings, he would describe himself almost as a victim, saying that the young lady had a Jezebel spirit and had tempted him.
No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. No, you're just a sick piece of garbage, and you can't. You're blaming it on the woman instead of being accountable. Instead of you being honest about what you're doing, you're gonna blame the woman. Oh, she has a Jezebel spirit. No, you're just a sick bastard. You're just a sick, evil, sadistic piece of garbage. That's all that is.
Him, and in fact, that she was the one that made it continue. He tried to.
No, sir. No, sir. That makes you now. They all talk like this. The predator. He's a predator. Oh, she did it. She just continued. She seduced me. Shut up. Just shut up. Shut up. Get it out of here. We heard it all before. That's that same sick garbage that they all say when they violate children.
Stop it. And she made it continue.
Just
so
stop.
He tells these stories.
You're the adult here. Stop it. You're the adult. Stop it. Why do they blame the child? Why do when every time a woman is violated, how come the blame is on the woman? Why is the girl always the blame? If she's 6, she's 7, she's 8, she gets violated. Why do we blame the woman? Why do we blame the girl for getting raped, for getting violated? Why do we do that? Why are we so sick that we can't recognize how sick we are when we do these kind of things? If she's a girl being touched improperly, being molested improperly by a freaking adult, something should be done about it immediately. There should be no freaking, oh, she's promiscuous. Oh, just stop. Just get off of it. We got to stop this. And then when they grow up and hate and resent men, what's wrong with her? I don't know why she's like that. Yes, you do. We know why they're like this. People are ruining their lives. They ruin their childhood. And then get mad and try to figure out what's wrong with them. We know what's wrong with them. We got to stop being sick garbage. Got to stop being sick. We have to stop being sick pieces of garbage.
As a way of saying you should be open about your sin and come forward. But in reality, that we now know, he was covering and papering over the reality.
Yes, he was. He was papering over the fact that he was a molester. He was covering over the fact that he was a sexual predator. He's a monster of a man.
Of child sexual abuse, which is, a crime.
He also has been quite a prominent member of the evangelical movement, politically influential. I mean, this is not just there are obviously many evangelical pastors, thousands, probably tens of thousands in this country. This is a particularly connected and powerful individual.
Absolutely. Trump's spiritual advisor. He's really leaned into the idea of, advocating for a restoration of Christian morality in America through Republican politics. And so
we just got to stop this. Only way to make restoration of that is to actually be real Christians. We have to actually be real Christians. We have to do what God says when it comes to his word. We have to stop being evil bastards when it comes to this. That's the only way to do it. You can't sit here and touch children and try to cover it up. You can't do horrible, sadistic, stupid stuff to people and try to cover it up. That's right. That's an old sin. You still hurt somebody. You still traumatize somebody. You sick moron. Someone's life was ruined. You heartless piece of garbage.
You see that with him inviting Glenn Beck to speak from the pulpit at his church and being aligned with Donald Trump. I write about extensively in the book. He's also gotten very engaged over the last few years with kind of warning about the dangers children face in schools. And this, I want to emphasize this, the survivor here in this case, Cindy, doesn't want this story to become just about politics. She's very primarily concerned with Robert Morris not being in leadership and kind of attacking.
Yeah. She's concerned with him being away for justice because she was victimized. But she was the one blamed, even though she was victimized. She's concerned about real stuff, what normal people in her position would be concerned about. He doesn't need to be in leadership if he's touching little girls. That's all it is to it.
The culture that allows this to permeate, but at the same time, lots of other people have watched as people like Robert Morris have warned that teachers and school librarians are a danger to children because and have used the language that they're grooming children because they have books on their shelves.
No, you're grooming children because you was 21 messing with a 12-year-old. You're the one. You're the predator. You're the one that people are in danger when they're around you, sir. Kids are in danger when they're around you because for some reason there's something wrong with you, and then you're trying to reflect. Oh, they have books on their shelves. No, you have undisciplined, whatever that is you have that makes you attracted to children. That's what you have. I'm not letting them off the hook.
Morris has preached about that from the pulpit, and you know.
Why did he preach about the fact that he was a sick piece of garbage? Why did he preach? Why did he tell the real truth? Why did he say sexual immoral when there are so many different types of sexual immoral that you can't count them all? Why don't you own up to it? Oh, well, that's right, because they'll look at you different. Because you really shouldn't have did it in the first place. But the fact that you did it and she's not letting it get away. Oh, it's an old sin. Whatever.
Endorse specific school board candidates who would fight against, you know, this Satan's work in school libraries.
Satan's work now. These over-the-top religious. He's just doing all this to overshadow the fact that he's a predator. That's all he's doing.
People who saw that play out are really frustrated and outraged now, knowing, you know, he's pointing at school librarians. Some of these books that
he's turning him away from himself. That's all he's doing. He has to attack somebody. He has to throw someone under the bus because he don't want the light on him, so he tries to throw it on somebody else, even though he's still a sick bastard. He's still sick. He's still sadistic. He's still twisted for doing that for so many years.
That were being targeted actually are literature that describe grooming as a way of helping kids understand what warning signs to watch out for. And so to have him be standing in the pulpit warning about this, given his history, has been, you know, a lot
hypocritical,
really difficult for people to process. And there's a lot of anger, both among survivors and educators who've been,
because he's a hypocrite,
targeted by this rhetoric.
Yeah, I would note in 2017, as you reported, he called on parishioners to support a bill pitched by Texas Governor Greg Abbott, a Republican, as a way to, quote, protect the safety of women.
Oh, ye hypocrites, get the plank from your own eye before you can even see clearly enough to get the speck out of someone else's eye. You're going to blame librarians, but you're the one that's sick. You're the one that's targeting children. You're the one that's doing this stuff. You know all about grooming. You would know because you've done it for so many years. And now you're trying to cover it up. You spent years covering it up. You spent years pretending to be an angel of light, even though you're a horrible human being.
Women and children that would have been.
Oh, it's an old sin. It happened years ago. Tell that to all other. Tell that to other people of other ethnic groups that were arrested for things that happened 30 years ago. Tell it to them. Tell them that's an old sin. Let them. Why don't we let them out of prison? Since it happened so long ago, it's an old sin, right? Right? No response? Okay.
And transgender people from using public bathrooms that correspond with their genders. Important to protect children from sexual abuse. On that, I agree. Mike Hicksonbaugh, thank you very much.
Thanks, Chris.
Mike's excellent new book, They Came for the Schools, One Town's Fight Over Race and Identity and the New War for Americans Classrooms, is out now. I suggest you check it out.
Okay. Anyway, this stuff is just sick, man. I said my piece on it. I said what I had to say. Oh, where we at? Yeah, I said my piece on it because he's sick. This guy's sick. Oh, it happened so long ago. Oh, it happened a while back. It doesn't matter. Because when other people of other ethnic groups, when they have something like this happen a while back, it gets blown way out of proportion. Not justifying it, not saying it's right. They're still sick. They're just as sick as anybody else that does it. But when people like him do it, it's old. It's old news. It's old news. We're going to forget about it. I'm just showing you how differently they're being treated. You should really keep the same energy for all of them because they're all sick. But I'm off of this. And he's a pastor. He's a pastor doing this. Trying to justify it, trying to cover it up. Oh, there's danger in the library. No, there's danger with you, sir. You're the danger. You are the danger. You are the one who knocks. But that's all I have to say about this topic. T-Dub signing out. This has been Terrell Speaks. Catch you on the next one.